Welcome to the BoldSign eSignature tutorials. In this video, you'll learn how to set authentication retry limits and authentication frequency in BoldSign. This helps you control failed verification attempts and decide when signers must verify their identity. When authentication isn't managed, signers can keep trying again and again. That creates security risk and it can frustrate the signer too. And when there's no clear rule for when authentication should happen, only once, every access, or until signing, the experience becomes inconsistent. That leads to delays, manual intervention, and sometimes unauthorized access after signing. BoldSign addresses this with two settings. First, Authentication Retry count. This sets how many verification attempts a signer is allowed. If they exceed the limit, the document locks for that signer until the sender unlocks it. Second, authentication frequency. This controls when signers are asked to verify their identity. Only once, every time they access the document, until the document is signed, or once for the entire document. Now let's use a real scenario. Imagine you're a legal advisor, sending a confidential contract to a client. Your firm's policy requires identity verification every time the document is opened, and only one attempt is allowed. Let's set that up. From the dashboard, open Settings and select Business Profile. Scroll down to Document Settings. Here you'll see Authentication, Retry Count, and Authentication Frequency. Start with Authentication, Retry Count. This feature is enabled by default, with a limit of 3 attempts, and it can't be disabled for security reasons. It applies to these authentication methods: access code, email, OTP, and SMS OTP. To change the retry count, use the increment and decrement controls. You can set up to 10 retries. For our scenario, set it to 1. Once saved, the signers will see the retry limits when they try to access the document. If they exceed the limit, the document automatically locks for that signer to protect the document from repeated failed attempts. Next, go to Authentication Frequency. This setting also applies to access code, email OTP, and SMS OTP. By default, the None option is selected. That means signers authenticate only once when opening the signing link, and they can continue to access and sign without additional verification. If you choose every access, signers must authenticate each time they open the document, even after signing is complete. The Until Signed option requires authentication every time the document is accessed, until the signing is completed. After signing, no further verification is required. The Once Per Document option allows signers to authenticate only once for the entire document, so they can return to it again without additional checks after that first verification. For our legal advisor scenario, choose every access, then click Save Changes. This setting applies across organization. So whenever a document is sent using access code, SMS OTP, or email OTP authentication, the signer experience will follow the retry limit and frequency you set. Now let's see how this works in a real send. Create a new document, upload the contract, and add your client as the recipient. Enable authentication, and choose email OTP, then continue to configure fields, add the required form fields, and send the document. On the signer's side, the signer opens the email and clicks Review and Sign. They are taken to the verification page, and they'll see the authentication attempt limit set to 1. They enter the email verification code, verify, and complete signing. After signing, the signer receives the completion email with a link to view the document. When they click View Document, they're taken to verification again. Because authentication frequency was set to every access, they enter the verification code, verify, and then they can view the completed document. And that's how to set authentication, retry limits, and authentication frequency in BoldSign. You've now standardized when verification happens, reduced risk from repeated failed attempts, and ensured secure access before and after signing. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more BoldSign eSignature tutorials.